You're listening to Weight Loss for Life Coaches, episode 29, with Master Certified Life and Weight Loss Coach, Paige Bowman.
Welcome to Weight Loss for Life Coaches, the weekly podcast for coaches who are growing their coaching business and on their weight loss journey. Each week, we'll be tackling why weight loss feels hard and how to make hitting your weight loss goal the simplest thing you do all day. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about celebrating. I know we've talked about success on this podcast, but I wanted an entire episode all about celebrating, how you celebrate, celebrating my clients, and celebrating you. One of my clients just hit her goal. She wanted to lose almost 25 pounds. I think it was like 23 pounds. She hit her goal in 9 months, and it just got me thinking about celebrating, because what I know to be true and what I teach and what I've been taught is that you don't wait to celebrate at the end when you hit your goal. You want to celebrate throughout your journey. And so her and I sat down and we talked about who she's become, what things she's left behind, how she's changed. But we were so ready to talk about that because throughout our 9 months together and working on her losing almost 25 pounds, we've been celebrating all throughout. And so she was really ready and primed to celebrate hitting her goal because we have been celebrating her and who she's becoming all throughout the journey. And so I wanted to bring that kind of conversation to the podcast with you today. But first, before we dive into celebrating, I am holding a webinar next week. When you listen to this, it'll be next Tuesday at 12 p.m. So that's Tuesday, August 2nd at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is going to be about the 3 super simple steps to losing 25 pounds. And I thought, so apt because my client just lost almost 25 pounds using the 3 steps. And of course, using my other tools and coaching as well. But we're going to talk about how you can start with the 3 steps and master those on your way to losing 25 pounds. When you come to this webinar, you're going to learn what's been keeping you from losing 25 pounds and really what's keeping you from doing the 3 super simple steps and losing weight in a simple way, right? Because I know I've heard many times, Paige, I know it's simple, but I'm not doing anything about it. And so we're going to talk about that in this webinar. So to get signed up and make sure you're coming to the webinar on Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you want to go to my Instagram profile at Life Coach Paige B and click the link in my bio. That will take you to the registration page. You can also click the link in my show notes for this episode. I'll put the link to the webinar and to register in the show notes. So be sure to get signed up for the webinar, join us, learn how to lose the next 25 pounds, learn what's keeping you from going on this simple weight loss journey, even though you know it's simple, and bring your questions. Get ready to ask away. You've got me for that hour. I always do Q&A at the end. They're always great questions that you all bring. They're always different every time. So come, learn, get yourself motivated or committed, whatever verb you like to use, and get into action on your weight loss journey. Heck, it could be you that we're celebrating in 9 months who lost 25 pounds because you decided to take action, to learn and get into action and go lose the next 25 pounds. So go get signed up. I want you to think about how you celebrate. What do you celebrate? Do you celebrate with a person? Who do you celebrate with? What does celebrating look like? And even if you don't celebrate right now on your weight loss journey, maybe you're like, wait, that's a thing? We do that? Think about in other areas of your life. Like if you just bought a house, how would you celebrate? If you just got engaged, how would you celebrate? If you just got a promotion or you quit your job, how would you celebrate? So think about how you celebrate And then I want you to think about what's possible for your celebrations on your weight loss journey as I talk about my clients and what we're celebrating and how we're celebrating together. The first client I want to share with you is the client I talked about earlier who just hit her goal. And I already told you that we really were primed and ready to celebrate together after that session, after she hit her goal, because we had been celebrating together over the last 9 months. So my coaching program is 6 months. And then those clients who decide to continue on together, we keep going, especially if they haven't hit their goal yet or they want to continue coaching into maintenance. And so we continue to work together. And throughout this time, we have been taking a look at how she's grown and how she's evolved. And one thing that we've been doing and that we did in this last session was we took a look at some of the beliefs and top feelings that she was thinking and feeling when we first started. And that's something I do with all my clients, where I'll take a look at where they started and we'll do check-ins, and I use that to help them go towards their goals and coach on those old beliefs that are still around. But we had been working on bridging the gap between where she was and where she wanted to be. But to really sit down and say, here were some old beliefs, and maybe not even that old, it was just 9 months ago, but here were your beliefs when you first started, when you decided to take the next step and go on this journey with me. And here were the feelings that you were feeling, the top feelings like overwhelmed, incompetent, frustrated, hopeless, right? And then we took a look at, and I asked her, what are your top beliefs right now? And what are your top feelings? And here's what was so fun. Her top feelings right now were the feelings that she told me on day one, session one. She told me, these are the top feelings I want to feel. And then she told me 9 months later, when she had hit her goal, that her current top feelings, they were the same ones. There wasn't like trickery here. I didn't like seep these in the entire time, but we had been working on becoming her future self, and her future self was guiding our work together. And so here were a few of her top emotions, like safety, compassion, ease, confidence. And every client is different. Every client's top 3 emotions are different. It's so fun to see that. But she told me in that session when we were celebrating her hitting her goal that she did feel those things. She did feel safe to be in her body and to be with her brain. She felt safe to be with herself. She felt confident and competent in continuing to keep the weight off into maintenance mode. And of course, what's so fun is we get to coach on anything that comes up during maintenance mode. And she is going to be set up to keep the weight off for the rest of her life. She felt compassion, and something that we had been talking about through our entire time together is that she would judge herself and shame herself and just beat herself up for messing things up, not being perfect, for having overeats, eating too full, for eating things she hadn't planned. And so the work we've been doing together is shifting that relationship with herself. And where she landed was, yes, being 25 pounds smaller or lighter, but she had the relationship with herself that she wanted, that she dreamed. That there was no way, she didn't believe there was any way that she could have that kind of relationship with herself. She didn't think it was possible to have compassion for herself when it comes to her relationship with food, when it came to thinking about food, when it came to looking at the number on the scale, when it came to looking at herself in the mirror. She just didn't think it was possible. Even if she was saying, yes, this is what I want, Paige, in the very beginning, it just didn't seem possible. And yet here she is. Not only is she almost 25 pounds lighter, but she is feeling compassion. That's one of her top emotions. Now, after going through 9 months of taking a look at herself, at her thoughts about herself, at her thoughts about food, after getting coached every week and then doing that work in between. She also told me, this is so fun, that she thought, and this was in the very beginning, She told me that she thought that weight loss, hitting her goal, was the elusive R line. And by R line, we mean result. So result meaning the thing that you want to create for yourself. So if that's losing 25 pounds, making $25,000 in your business, buying that house, that's your R line. That's your result. And she told me that, I think this was on the console call, that she thought weight loss was the elusive result, that it just had always slipped out of her hands. She'd never been able to create this for herself. It just didn't seem possible, even though, yes, she was going to try for it and go after it. And I reminded her of that this past time where we were celebrating. And I reminded her, do you remember telling yourself just 9 months ago, believing that you couldn't get to this goal, that it was something just so out of your reach? And she was cracking up because she did it. She, not that long ago, 9 months is not a long time, y'all, right? Think about that. Just 9 months ago, she thought that hitting her weight loss goal was just so impossible. It was the one thing in her life she couldn't figure out. And yet here she is 9 months later, she is at her weight loss goal. And then here's the really fun thing that I want to tell you is that she is feeling amazing about herself, about the way she thinks about herself, the way she feels. And it's not solely because the number on the scale has changed, right? She has gotten to this weight before. If I'm not mistaken, she's gotten to this weight before and she felt frustrated, confused. It felt like it was just going to escape. Like she got to the goal, but she couldn't hang on to it. Again, it's like this elusive word that she was using. And this time she's got to the goal and it doesn't feel like it's just going to escape and she's going to lose control and gain the weight back. Instead, she's feeling confident and assured in herself. She feels safe with herself and compassionate. And so I want you to think about how, when I explain to you how we've been celebrating together, how that's created this environment for her to take a look at what's going on, what are her thoughts, what are her feelings, what has she been doing or not doing, and celebrating that throughout has actually created that safety to then address those things and acknowledge those things and be excited. And then that actually leads really nicely into maybe even evaluating. We talked about evaluating in, I think it was the how to plan out your weight loss goal or weight loss journey episode, where we talked about what evaluating is. And I told you that the way I do it is we say what was supposed to happen, what did happen, what worked, and that's that celebrating part, what didn't work, and then what will you do differently. And when you're so good at celebrating, you can naturally do that in the eval, but then you can naturally also take a look at, well, what do I want to improve? I can celebrate, and what do I want to improve? And that's a pretty cool skill as well. So what we've been doing is almost like quietly inserting this skill or helping her create this skill of being able to take a look at where she is and celebrate that. And that is very helpful when it comes to evaluating and making changes as you continue on your journey. And I want you to think about it like that for yourself. I want you to think about what it looks like to be in the mindset of taking a look at where you're at and celebrating that, right? And it takes both that skill of awareness and then seeing the things that you would celebrate and what you would call a success within that awareness. Okay, so we talked about my client who hit her goal and how her and I celebrated both during our journey together, during her losing nearly 25-pound journey, and then at the end where we took a look at where she started and then where she's at. And that was a big part of the way we celebrated. And then we also celebrated where she has been throughout the journey and the growth and the mindset shifts that she's made throughout the journey. Instead of just waiting till the end, we've been celebrating throughout. So I want you to keep that in mind, to celebrate throughout and celebrate at the end. But then let's talk about what's it look like to celebrate before you hit your goal. And I mean a big celebration before you hit your goal. So because we want to celebrate throughout, we want to add that celebration energy through that time period of you actively on your weight loss journey. It's just, why wouldn't you want that, right? But then I want you to think about doing a big celebration before you've got to your goal. So I want to tell you about another one of my clients who hasn't lost weight yet. We've been working together for 4 months, but she has completely changed and shifted her mindset and her identity and her relationship with food. And so we actually recently did a big celebration and a big look back at how far she's come. And I wanted to share that with you as well, because I don't think that the scale is the only thing to celebrate. And in fact, I always tell my clients, you have to meet yourself where you're at. It's the most important thing on this journey to me, is that my client and you who's listening to this, you meet yourself where you're at instead of trying to push yourself to hurry up and get to the scale, hurry up and get to the goal without working through some important mindsets or the feelings work or whatever it is, because then you'll get to the goal and you won't have worked through these things. And then you're not able to maintain the weight loss. And it's not to say that you couldn't, but what I have found for myself is that when I skipped over the emotional and the mindset work, I kept gaining the weight back. When my clients, before they've come to me, they didn't do the mindset work and they would lose the weight and then they would gain it back. And it's the same. Usually it is that mindset and emotion work that we skip. And so I always like to say, you've got to meet yourself where you're at. And so this client in particular was struggling with binge eating and with depending on food for comfort or safety. And what she said in the beginning of our time together was that she felt like she depended on food to get through her life. And she's been doing that all of her life. And so, of course, we're working on all the basic tools I teach in my coaching program, but then we're also coaching on those foundational beliefs that are keeping her where she is and going after food for comfort, going after food to feel better. And sometimes the work is that deep mindset work or that deep emotional work. And so this client, we just celebrated so big. We were taking a look at the things that she used to believe and the way she used to feel about her goal, about food, about herself. And then we took a look at where she is now. And very similar to how I celebrated with my first client and how I celebrate with all my clients. But I wanted to share with you a few things that we celebrated in particular, because it wasn't about the number on the scale that we were celebrating, but it was about who she has become in the 4 months that we've worked together so far. So for example, one of the things that we talked about was her dependence on food for safety. And we kind of talked about how food was like a whoopee, like this like blanket. There's this, who's that character on that show, The Great Pumpkin? Charlie Brown. One of those characters, I think it's Linus. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of that show, but he's got the blanket, right? Like your safety blanket, or I also call them a whoopee. And so we talked about food was her whoopee for the longest time. I mean, since she was a child, whether it was through being actually taught or just a learned behavior to deal with stress, she would go to food for comfort, for safety. Food is what got her through things. And so what we talked about is we had her remember that when she first came to me, the things that we talked about and how that was what she was struggling with in that moment in the very beginning, and how now she no longer thinks about food in that way. In fact, she'll say it time and time again, food is fuel. Food isn't for comfort. Food isn't my whoopee. Food is fuel. And we're also celebrating that she no longer binge eats. And this, my friends, is huge. I have a couple of clients that I've worked with over time that have struggled with binge eating, and they always tell me, I don't see how it's possible that I could ever stop. Every single one of my clients that has come to me and that has participated in binge eating has told me, I don't know how I can ever stop this. And every single one so far that I've worked with has stopped binge eating. But this isn't a scale victory. So if you are thinking that I have to wait until I get to my goal to really celebrate big and to really acknowledge the growth and the changes I've made, you would skip over that. We would have totally skipped over that. We would have waited until she hit that number on the scale, hit her goal to celebrate this. But don't wait. This is huge for her. And if this is something that you struggle with, then you know how massive this is to go from someone who binge ate. I think that's not binge ate, but to go from binge eating to become someone who just doesn't do that anymore. Huge, so empowering. And so what we did was we did the same thing where we took a look at, okay, where were your beliefs and your goal in the beginning? Where are you at now? And really sitting back and just relishing in the pride and the, like I said, feeling empowered and everything that she and that you have created so far on this journey. And so don't wait until the scale has changed. Don't wait until you hit your goal to have these big celebrations, to have these big look backs, how far you've come. Do it throughout your journey, but do like a big one with however it is you want to celebrate, whether it's with someone, maybe sit down and have some coffee and discuss the things that you've changed. Do it with your coach, whatever that looks like. Just don't wait until you hit your goal to sit in and acknowledge everything that you've done up until this point. And then I want you to think about this. If this client who hasn't lost weight yet, if we had waited to celebrate, think about the energy that she would just continue to be in on her journey. Think about how she'd probably be in, yes, committed. Yes, she would take action, but it wouldn't be full of empowered. It wouldn't be full of belief in herself as much as taking this time, even now at this point of her journey. Think about now what energy she's going to be in because we took solid quality time to celebrate her and the identity shifts she's made, the mindset shifts she's made, how much she's evolved and grown, how she stopped binge eating, how she stopped going to food for safety and comfort, how food is no longer her whoopee, her safety blanket. Now, as she continues on her journey, her energy is going to be that much different. She's already now empowered and belief in herself and just so impressed with herself. It shifts your energy on your journey when you're celebrating and you give yourself the opportunity to celebrate and you go find those things to celebrate. And that could make all the difference for the rest of your journey. So what do you want to celebrate? How often do you want to celebrate? What do you want celebrating to look like? Do you want to celebrate with someone? Do you want to do it by yourself? I mean, the way I've explained it to you with my clients, the way we celebrate, I would sum it up as acknowledging, right? That could be a form of celebration. That could be just you acknowledging the shifts and the changes you've made and how much you've grown. And that could be celebrating. You could, of course, buy yourself something, give yourself the day off. You could write yourself a letter. You could write a letter to your past self who got you started and took that first step on this journey. You could write a letter from your past self to you now. You could even write a letter to your future self as you continue on your journey. That would be fun. So those are some ideas for celebrating. I also want you to think about how you celebrate in other areas of your life. And you could go to your future self and ask her how she celebrates. Here's another idea. This is something I like to do, is write out a list of the things that you think you'll be celebrating at the end of your journey when you hit your goal, and the things that you'll be grateful for and that you'll be acknowledging and that you'll just be relishing in. Think about what those things will be. And then bonus, you're kind of celebrating twice because you're writing them down now. And then you'll probably celebrate them again when you get there, when you get to your goal. Okay, so here are some powerful questions. Beyond the questions I've already asked you about how do you want to celebrate, etc. But here are some questions I want you to think about that will take you deeper into your mindset around celebrating. Why do I think celebration is important on my weight loss journey? What is keeping me from celebrating so much more than I already am right now? How could celebrating be the thing that transforms my weight loss journey? That last one's a fun one. We're really getting you to sell yourself on celebrating. I love it. Okay, so here's your reminder to, while you celebrate or after you celebrate, to go sign up for the webinar, the 3 super simple steps to losing 25 pounds. Go sign up for the webinar. Go learn about the 3 steps. Dive even deeper than you already have. Learn what is keeping you from losing your next 25 pounds. We're going to talk about that too. And then go get into action and maybe even take with you that list of the things you'll be celebrating when you lose your next 25 pounds because you decided to get into action now. So to sign up for that, you'll either go to the link in the show notes, wherever you're listening to the podcast right now, or go to my Instagram profile and click the link in my bio, and that's at Life Coach Paige B. All right, y'all, that is it for our celebration episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. Go ahead and leave us a review and give us 5 stars on your favorite podcast platform. Let us know what you loved about this episode. And share this podcast with others, especially those life coaches who want to lose weight as well. Share this so that they know that they're not alone and that there's someone out there who understands them and can help them out. All right, y'all, go celebrate. I'll see you next week. Bye.